For years, the banks made you believe that you need a financial advisor to start investing. But the truth is, with a bit of effort, anyone can manage their own money. Today, I'll show you why mutual funds often hold you back and how ETFs have completely changed the game. Hi, welcome back to Leon's Money Flow, where I share my journey to financial freedom in the hope to inspire some of you guys to start on your own journey too. Here we talk about investing, building wealth, and making smarter money moves. So if that sounds like your thing, make sure to subscribe and join the journey. Also, quick shout out to one of my viewers who suggested I make this video after my last upload. I really appreciate when you guys share ideas, and if there's a topic you'd like me to cover next, drop it in the comments. I read and reply to every single one. Before we jump in, let's quickly talk about what a mutual fund actually is. A mutual fund is basically a basket of investments holding stocks or bonds, and that's managed by a professional. You pool your money with thousands of other investors into the same fund, and the fund manager decides whether to buy or sell. This sounds great in theory, and you get diversification and professional management, but here's the catch. The services come at a cost, and these costs add up to more than you might think. Alright, now let's take a look at some mutual funds. So over here I have a list of mutual funds from TD and from Scotiabank. I just chose these two banks because they were easy to find online. Now if we look at the funds and we look at specifically this column, which is the fees, we see that the fees are around 2.26% or 2%. There's a little bit lower at 1% here. If we look at Scotiabank, again, it's around 2.5, 2.3% for the MER, which stands for Management Expense Ratio. And if we look at ETFs, which is like VFV for S&P 500, you can see that the MER is around 0.09%, which is less than a 20th of the percentage that TD was charging, right? And if we look at another ETF like QQC, the MER here is 0.2%, which is less than a 10th of what TD and Scotiabank was charging for their mutual funds, right? So that's one big way that you're losing out. You're losing out on the fees because these are paid out to the fund manager no matter if the fund goes up or down or how well it goes up. The fees don't go up or down, right? So that's like a sunk cost for you. And another thing that you lose out on actually is that these mutual funds, so I just clicked on a random one, have a minimum investment usually. So some are higher, some are lower. So this is pretty high at 5K. I don't have that just lying around. It's not that accessible, whereas ETFs like VFV, especially now that you can buy fractional shares with brokerages, you can start investing with as low as $1. So there's no limits to that. It's very accessible and easy to start. Yeah, so that's another thing you lose out on. Third thing you lose out on is the performance. So the performance of these mutual funds, they're actively managed. That's why they have higher fees, because they're quote unquote actively managed. Who knows how active they are. But So anyways, the performance over the long run never seems to beat the market. The performance here was only 7.19% for the past 10 years. And let's look at the Scotiabank mutual fund. As you see, the minimum investment here is a bit lower at 500, but that's still pretty high if you would ask me. So this was not out for 10 years, but when was this started? It started in, where is it? Here, February 2nd, 2016. So almost 10 years, 9 years. So let's just take this because it's close to 10 years, which is 7.5%. So these mutual funds are around 7% for 10 years. And whereas let's compare that to ETFs like VFV, the performance has been very well. 10 years, 15%. So that's that is double, more than double for a TD scenario. More than double performance in VFV. So you're losing out on double the gains here. And like if we look at QQC, you look at performance of the past 10 years, and it's been 18%. So you're losing out on more than double the performance. So that's the third major cost or loss that you have with mutual funds. And then remember I was saying that these are actively managed. Like it's not really transparent, right? Like if you scroll down here, you can see the top 10 holdings and like the geography and whatnot. But that's pretty much it. You don't know what happens behind the scenes, what happens day to day, what are you buying or selling. Same thing in Scotiabank's mutual fund. Here you can, if we look at, does it even tell you? It says portfolio analysis 10. It tells you what it's made of, but I don't even see the holdings. Yeah, so it's not very transparent, right? Which is what I'm trying to get at. But like if you look at VFE, they are pretty transparent or very transparent because they tell you all that market allocation, region exposure data, but they also give you top 10 holdings just as a quick glance. But then you're given the option to download all of its holdings for that day and see what it holds, right? And I actually downloaded the spreadsheet. It's over here. And so it has all 500, over 500 holdings. It tells you how much they have in it. Over 500 holdings. So it's very transparent on that. Yeah. And one final thing, just to be fun, I'm decided to do a small experiment of, let's say we put 10K in a mutual fund. I want to just do a quick comparison of the fees. Let's say we have the fee rate of TD, I think it was 2.26. Okay, and we will say this has been invested for 30 years. So this is obviously not a real world case scenario because your investment will not just stay flat 10K, it's gonna go up. So this is actually the minimum fees you would probably pay, right? So if we calculate, that will give you around over 9K in fees, right? Which is a mind-blowing amount, like 9K. That could buy me so many things, right? Or I can invest it back and grow my portfolio. So now let's do the same experiment, but for VFV. Let's do an apples to apples comparison. So we're gonna assume that our investment stays at a fixed 10K for all 30 years, which is not what will really happen, but let's just do that. And then we calculate, that's a $273 for your fees. So you're saving on about more than 9K, right? So that's just for this simple scenario where it's fixed at 10K, because in the real world, when it's going up, you'll pay more in fees, right? And it will compound, and so you'll actually be saving more money with these ETFs. So yeah, that was just a fun little experiment. And this is why I believe most people can actually be their own financial advisor. It's easier than ever before with these online brokerages like Wealthsimple, Questrade, or even your bank's investing platform. You can build your own portfolio in a matter of minutes. With a little research and consistency, you'll do just as well, if not better, than what most advisors are doing behind the scenes. When I started investing, I thought mutual funds were safe and smart because that's what everyone told me. But once I took the time to dig a little deeper and realize how much these hidden fees would cost me, I completely trashed that idea. And honestly, it's one of the best financial decisions I've ever made. I'd rather keep that 2% working for me and not the bank. So if you're still in mutual funds, it might be time to rethink things. Run the numbers yourself, and you'll be shocked at how much you can save just by switching to ETFs. Also, huge thanks again to the viewer who suggested this topic, and I love making videos that actually help you guys. If you have any questions or future video ideas, drop them in the comments below. I always try to reply and might even turn your question into the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.